Welcome to Famous People, English Stories. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
Chapter 1. Basic Personal Info. Say it clearly and naturally. Talking about yourself in English usually begins with the simplest and most universal questions. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Where do you live? These may seem basic, but how you answer them can make a big difference. Many English learners memorize stiff, unnatural phrases, but today, you'll learn how to say these things smoothly, clearly, and confidently. Let's begin with your name. The classic sentence is, "My name is Maria." It's correct, but it sounds a bit formal. A more natural version is, "I'm Maria." This is the most common way to introduce yourself in casual conversation. If you have a nickname or prefer to be called something else, you can personalize your introduction. I'm Maria, but my friends call me Masha. At work, I go by Maria, but my family calls me Masha. You're not just giving a name, you're telling people a little about how you relate to others. Now, how about where you're from? You might say, "I'm from Ukraine." That's great, but you can expand it and sound more natural. I'm originally from Ukraine, but I live in Poland now. I'm originally from suggests your place of birth or early life. It gives context and adds a layer of personal story. You're saying, "This is where my roots are." You can also say, "I grew up in a small town near Kiev." This adds detail and makes your introduction more vivid. "I grew up in" tells people not just where you were born, but where your early experiences happened. Next is what you do. You can say, "I'm a student." "I work as a designer." "I'm studying to become a nurse." Each version has a slightly different flavor. Let's break them down. I'm a is the standard way to talk about your job or role. It's short, direct, and commonly used. I work as gives a little more detail. It sounds slightly more formal and specific. For example, I work as a marketing assistant. I'm studying to become is what you say if you're still in school or training for a profession. For instance, I'm studying to become a teacher. In this case, you're sharing not just what you do now, but what you're aiming for. It's a forward-looking phrase. Now let's move to where you live. Simple answers work. I live in Kiev. But again, let's go further. I currently live in Warsaw, but I'm planning to move to Berlin next year. The word currently is very helpful. It tells the listener that this is your present situation, but it might change. It's especially useful for people who move often or live abroad. Let's see what happens when we put all this together. Hi, I'm Maria. I'm originally from Ukraine, but I currently live in Warsaw. I work as a freelance designer and I love meeting people from around the world. That's it. In just a few sentences, you've shared your name, your background, your profession, and even a touch of your personality. Now, before we finish this chapter, let's review some of the key phrases and what they communicate. I'm originally from. This tells the listener where your life started. It adds personal depth, especially if you've moved or lived in different places. I currently live in. This shows your present location. The word currently gives it a time-sensitive meaning. It tells people you might be on the move again. I work as a. This is a great way to talk about your job clearly and professionally. It gives structure to your answer. I'm studying to become. This phrase shows your direction. It's not just about what you're doing now, it's about your goals. In my free time. This is a great way to transition from basic facts to personality. You can say, in my free time, I enjoy reading novels and going for long walks. This kind of sentence adds color to your introduction. You're not just telling someone the facts, you're helping them picture who you are. So remember, when talking about yourself, don't be afraid to expand just a little. Add a detail. Use a phrase that connects two ideas. Show movement in your story, past, present, and future. And most importantly, practice saying it aloud until it flows naturally. You don't need perfect grammar. You need presence, clarity, and a willingness to connect. That's how you make even basic personal information sound powerful. Chapter 2. Your story. Talk about your background and life journey. Once you've introduced your name, where you're from, and what you do, the next step is sharing your personal story. This is where language becomes more than just vocabulary and grammar. It becomes connection. Your story lets others understand who you are beyond the surface. And when you can tell it in English, you're not just practicing fluency, you're building identity. Let's start at the beginning. You might say something like, I was born in Lviv, a beautiful city in western Ukraine. It's a simple sentence, but it invites someone into your origin. You can also say, I grew up in a small town near the mountains, or I spent my childhood in a quiet village where everyone knew each other. These phrases do more than just list locations. They help create a picture in the listener's mind. If you want to go deeper, add a detail or a memory. For example, I grew up in a neighborhood where children played outside every evening until the street lights came on. Or, I was raised by my grandmother, and every weekend we baked bread together. These details are emotional, real, and memorable, and they don't need complicated grammar to be powerful. Now let's move to your education and development. You can say, I went to school in Lviv and later studied international relations at university, or after finishing high school, I didn't go to university right away. Instead, I took a year off to work and think about my future. This kind of information shows not only what you did, but why you did it. You don't have to list every school or degree. What matters more is the feeling behind it. For example, instead of just saying, I studied marketing, you could say, at first, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But during my second year of university, I discovered a love for marketing and communication. Now you're showing growth and self-discovery, and that always holds people's attention. Let's add some transition moments, those times when your life took a new direction. You might say, when I was 20, I moved to Poland to study, or after I graduated, I changed my career path completely. I started in law but ended up in technology. To express these turning points naturally, use phrases like, at first, then, that's when I realized, or eventually, I decided to. These words help your story flow. like you're leading someone step by step through your journey. For example, at first, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. But after volunteering at a hospital, I realized that my real passion was education. Eventually, I started working with children, and I've been teaching ever since. See how it's not just a story of facts? It's a story of change, discovery, and purpose. You can also reflect on how your background shaped you. Try saying things like, "Growing up in a large family taught me how to listen and share. Living in a small town helped me appreciate quiet moments and strong friendships." Or, "Moving abroad taught me how to be independent and flexible." These reflections make your story meaningful. They show who you became because of your experiences, not just what happened. Let's put it all together in a short example. I was born in Ukraine and grew up in a peaceful town surrounded by nature. I went to school there and later moved to Kiev to study design. At first, I wasn't sure if it was the right path, but over time, I found myself falling in love with creativity and problem solving. After university, I decided to explore new cultures, so I moved to Spain. Living here has helped me grow, both personally and professionally. This version has personal memories, education, career decisions, and emotional growth, all in clear, natural English. When you tell your background story, keep 3 things in mind. First, focus on key moments, not every detail. Second, use time expressions like "when I was," "after that," "then," and "since then" to guide the listener. And third, add emotion. Don't be afraid to say what was difficult, exciting, confusing, or beautiful. Most importantly, practice your story out loud. Try saying it to yourself in front of a mirror, recording it, or telling it to a friend. The more you say it, the more confident and fluent you'll feel. And every time you tell it, your English becomes more natural, because now, it's not just a language you study. It's the language of your life. Chapter 3, Hobbies and Interests, show your personality. Once you've shared your background, it's time to bring your personality into the spotlight. One of the best ways to do that is by talking about your hobbies and interests. This is where you stop being just a student or an engineer. You become someone who loves painting, hiking, reading, or dancing. Your hobbies show your human side, your passions, and what brings you joy. And when you talk about them naturally in English, you become more confident and relatable. Let's begin with the most common ways to express what you like doing. You probably already know the basic phrases. I like. I love. I enjoy. These are correct, but there's a small trick here. After these verbs, use the ing form of the action. I like cooking. I enjoy reading. I love playing the guitar. If you say, "I like to cook," it's also correct. But "I like cooking" feels more natural when you're talking about your hobbies. Now, instead of repeating "I like" or "I enjoy" over and over, let's add some more colorful phrases. Try saying, "I'm really into photography. I'm a big fan of sci-fi movies. I spend a lot of my free time learning new languages. I've recently gotten interested in fitness and nutrition." These phrases are great because they don't just tell someone what you do, they tell them how involved or passionate you are. If you want to show how your hobby makes you feel, you can say, It helps me relax. It gives me energy. It's how I clear my mind. It makes me feel creative. For example, I'm really into gardening. It helps me relax after a stressful day. Or, I've recently started learning to paint. It makes me feel calm and focused. Let's say your hobbies are a little less common. That's even better. The more unique your interest, the more memorable your story. Try saying, I love restoring old furniture. I find it so satisfying to turn something broken into something beautiful. Or, I've been practicing calligraphy. It's slow work, but I enjoy the quiet and concentration. And what if you don't think you have any special hobbies? No problem. Think about what you do in your free time, even small routines. I enjoy going for long walks and listening to podcasts. On weekends, I like trying out new recipes. I often watch documentaries, especially about nature or history. Even simple interests like walking, cooking, or listening to music are meaningful if you talk about them with detail and emotion. Here are some helpful ways to explain how often you do something. I usually go swimming twice a week. I sometimes draw in the evenings. I rarely have time to read, but I still try. Adding how often or when you do something helps others understand your routine and lifestyle. It also shows that you can express more than just the action. You can describe your relationship with it. If you want to connect multiple hobbies in one sentence, use linking phrases like, in my free time, I enjoy painting, reading, and spending time with my dog. During the summer, I love hiking and camping, but in winter I prefer staying indoors with a good book. Besides working, I also volunteer at an animal shelter and study French online. These transitions, in my free time, during, besides, but, also, are small but powerful. They give your speaking a smooth rhythm and keep your listener engaged. Now let's look at a short example of a full, natural description. In my free time, I'm really into photography. I love walking around the city and capturing small details, like the way sunlight hits an old building or how people move through the streets. It helps me slow down and notice things I'd usually ignore. I also enjoy writing short stories. I find it's a great way to express ideas that are hard to say out loud. This kind of answer doesn't just list hobbies. It tells a story, shares emotion, and reveals a part of your identity. Here's one more example. I enjoy cooking and trying new recipes from different cultures. I recently learned how to make Indian curry, and it was amazing. Cooking helps me relax, and I love the creativity it involves. I also listen to audiobooks when I walk, especially history or psychology. It makes walking feel productive. You see how specific, personal details make even simple hobbies interesting? So when you talk about your hobbies, remember this. Don't worry about sounding perfect. Focus on sounding real. Speak slowly. Use words that are true to you. And instead of just saying, I like music, try to explain why. What kind of music? When do you listen to it? How does it make you feel? When you do this, you turn a basic topic into a rich conversation, and you give your English a voice that sounds uniquely yours. Chapter 4. Daily routine. Talk about your day like a native speaker. Talking about your daily routine is one of the most practical and useful ways to improve your English. This topic not only helps you speak more fluently, but it also allows you to use common verbs, time expressions, and sentence patterns that appear in almost every conversation. Whether you're meeting someone for the first time, speaking in an English class, or just chatting casually, being able to describe your routine makes you sound more natural and confident. Let's start with the structure. When you describe your routine, you usually use the present simple tense because you're talking about things you do regularly or every day. For example, I wake up at 7 a.m. I usually have coffee and toast for breakfast. Then I take the bus to work. These are simple actions, but they're very common. The key is to connect them in a way that feels like a real story, not a list. You can use time phrases to give your routine a clear flow. Try expressions like in the morning, after breakfast, around noon, in the afternoon, after work, in the evening, before bed. Let's look at an example of a short morning routine. I usually wake up around 7. After that, I take a quick shower and make breakfast. I always have coffee, it helps me start the day. Then I check my emails or scroll through the news before heading to work. Notice how the speaker uses time phrases, routine verbs, and even a small detail, I always have coffee, to make the routine feel real. Now let's add more personality. You can describe how you feel during your day. I'm not a morning person, so I try to take things slowly when I wake up. My mornings are usually quiet and calm, which helps me focus. These kinds of statements turn your daily routine into a personal story. If you work or study, talk a bit about your schedule. I work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. My classes start at 10 a.m., so I have some time in the morning to relax. Lunchtime is usually around 1 p.m., and I like going for a short walk if the weather is nice. Even small details like lunchtime, commute, or break time make your English more complete and help listeners understand your life. Let's move to the afternoon and evening. You might say, I usually finish work around 5 or 6. On my way home, I sometimes stop at the supermarket. When I get home, I cook dinner, watch a show, or read a book. These activities don't have to be dramatic, just real. The more natural they are, the easier it becomes to speak freely. To describe how you end your day, you can say, before bed, I like to listen to music or do some light stretching. I always brush my teeth, set my alarm, and turn off my phone before sleeping. I usually go to bed around 11. But sometimes I stay up late watching YouTube videos. Now let's make it more interesting by showing variety in your routine. Don't be afraid to say how your weekdays and weekends are different. For example, during the week, I have a pretty regular schedule, but weekends are more relaxed. On Saturdays, I sleep in and sometimes meet friends for lunch. Sundays are my quiet days. I like to stay home, clean a little, and prepare for the week ahead. This contrast shows that you can talk about routines and flexibility. It gives a full picture of your lifestyle. You can also talk about habits or things you're trying to improve in your routine. I'm trying to drink more water during the day. I recently started waking up earlier to go for a morning walk. I'm trying to spend less time on my phone in the evening. These small sentences reveal goals, personality, and honesty, and they use very practical vocabulary. Let's hear a full example of a natural, daily routine summary. My typical day starts at 7 a.m. I make coffee, read a little, and then get ready for work. I work from home, so I usually sit at my desk by 9. I take a short break around 11 and go for a walk if the weather is nice. After lunch, I finish my tasks and log off around 5. In the evening, I like to cook something simple, watch a documentary, and call my family. Before bed, I read or listen to a podcast. It's a quiet routine, but it helps me stay balanced. This kind of routine tells a full story. It shows structure, mood, and even lifestyle choices. So how do you talk about your daily routine well? First, keep it simple. Use regular present tense verbs. Second, use time phrases to guide the listener. Third, add some emotion, variety, or personal habits to make it interesting. You don't need big vocabulary, you need clear, honest communication. And finally, practice out loud. Say your morning routine to yourself while getting ready. Describe your evening routine as you unwind. The more you speak about your real life, the faster your fluency will grow. Chapter 5, Personality and Values. Describe who you truly are. Up until now, you've talked about your background, your hobbies, and your routine. But those are just the outer layers. If you want to truly express who you are in English, you need to go deeper. This chapter is all about your personality and your values, the things that shape your behavior, your decisions, and your relationships. When you can talk about these topics clearly, you no longer sound like a beginner. You sound like someone who speaks from the heart. Let's begin with personality. A common way to describe yourself is with the phrase, I consider myself. For example, I consider myself an organized person. I consider myself open-minded and curious. I'm someone who likes to plan ahead. This kind of sentence is a gentle, confident way to start. You're not saying, I am this and nothing else. You're offering a thoughtful picture of yourself. Another natural option is, people say I'm, or my friends would describe me as. These are great when you want to sound humble or share how others see you. People say I'm reliable and easy to talk to. My friends would describe me as a good listener. Both of these phrases feel personal and real, which makes them very effective in conversations. Now let's go through some useful adjectives you can use to describe personality. Outgoing, shy, creative, honest, calm, thoughtful, adventurous, caring, determined, ambitious. Instead of just listing these words, choose 2 or 3 that feel true for you, and give examples. For example, I'm quite shy at first, but once I get comfortable, I really open up. I'm a creative person. I love coming up with new ideas, especially when working with a team. I'm very determined. When I set a goal, I don't stop until I reach it. Notice how each sentence combines the adjective with a real situation. This makes your English sound alive, not like a school exercise. Now let's talk about values. Values are the beliefs and principles that matter to you. They're not always visible, but they show up in your actions. You might say, family is very important to me. I believe in working hard and staying honest. I really value kindness and respect. These kinds of sentences reveal your inner world. They show who you are even when no one is watching. Here are more ways to express values. One thing I always try to do is treat people fairly. Something I deeply believe in is that small actions can create big change. A personal rule I follow is to never make promises I can't keep. These sentences are powerful. They're simple, but they say a lot about your character. You can also talk about where your values come from. I was raised to believe that hard work matters more than talent. My parents taught me to always be grateful and never take things for granted. Growing up in a small town taught me to appreciate simple things. Again, you don't need fancy words. You just need truth and clarity. Let's look at a full example of someone describing their personality and values. I consider myself a calm and thoughtful person. I don't like rushing into things. I prefer to take time and think. People often say I'm a good listener, and I really value that. I believe everyone deserves to be heard. Kindness is also important to me. I try to treat people with respect, no matter who they are. Here's another example. I'm quite ambitious. I always try to push myself and learn new things. At the same time, I believe in balance. I don't think success means anything if you're not happy. My family means a lot to me, and I try to make time for them, no matter how busy I get. As you can see, these kinds of reflections help people understand you on a deeper level. And when you practice saying them in English, you build real communication, not just conversation. So how do you master this topic? Start by writing down 5 words that describe your personality. Then write 5 short sentences about your values. Don't worry about perfection. Just be honest. Practice speaking your answers out loud. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Record your voice. These small steps help you find your real English voice, the one that doesn't just describe what you do, but who you are. Because learning a language isn't just about talking. It's about expressing your truth. Chapter 6: Goals and Dreams. Speak with passion. One of the most exciting parts of talking about yourself in English is sharing your goals and dreams. These are the things you hope to achieve, the life you want to build, and the kind of person you're working to become. When you talk about your future with passion and clarity, it helps you connect with others, and it gives your English voice a sense of direction and purpose. Let's begin with the basics. To talk about what you want in life, you can use simple future forms like I want to, I hope to, I'd like to, my goal is to. For example, I want to become a nurse and help people in need. I hope to travel more and see the world. I'd like to improve my English so I can study abroad. My goal is to start my own business one day. These are clear, direct ways to express your dreams. But let's take it a step further. When you talk about your dreams, add a reason. This makes your words more powerful. Instead of just saying, I want to be a writer, say, I want to be a writer because I've always loved stories, and I want to inspire others the way books have inspired me. That one sentence shows your goal and your heart, and that's what makes people listen. You can also describe where the dream came from. Ever since I was a child, I've wanted to be a pilot. My passion for photography started in high school when I borrowed my brother's old camera. After volunteering at a hospital, I realized I wanted to work in healthcare. These kinds of stories make your goals real and human. To talk about long-term goals, you can say, one day, I'd love to. In the future, I hope to. I'm working toward. My dream is to. Some examples. One day, I'd love to write a book about my life experiences. In the future, I hope to live in a quiet town by the sea. I'm working toward becoming fluent in English and moving abroad. My dream is to create something meaningful that helps people. Even if your goals are still a little uncertain, you can still talk about them. Use phrases like, I'm still figuring things out, but I'm interested in. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I know I want to do something creative. At the moment, I'm exploring different options. This kind of honesty is powerful. It shows growth, curiosity, and the desire to move forward. Let's also include short-term goals. You might say, this year, I want to read at least 20 books. I'm trying to wake up earlier and build a better morning routine. I'm planning to take the IELTS exam next spring. Short-term goals show that you're not just dreaming. You're taking action. And action gives energy to your speaking. When talking about your future, it's also okay to share fears or challenges. I'm excited, but I know it won't be easy. Sometimes I feel nervous, but I try to stay focused. There are days when I doubt myself, but I remind myself why I started. These kinds of thoughts make your English more real. They show the emotional side of goals, and that's something we all relate to. Now let's put it all together in a full example. I've always been passionate about education. One day, I'd love to open my own language school, especially for children in small towns. I know it's a big goal, and I still have a lot to learn, but I'm taking small steps. Right now, I'm studying teaching methods and improving my own language skills. It's not always easy, but I believe in the power of education to change lives. Another example. In the future, I hope to work as a travel photographer. I want to see the world, capture beautiful moments, and tell stories through pictures. I'm still learning the technical side, but I practice every day and follow other artists for inspiration. I don't know exactly where this path will lead, but I feel excited every time I pick up my camera. These examples are more than English practice. They're real dreams, spoken from the heart. And that's the best way to speak in any language. So how do you start? Write down one short-term goal and one long-term dream. Think about what inspired them. Practice saying them out loud in your own words. Don't aim for perfection, aim for honesty. You can always improve the grammar later. But the courage to share your dream? That's something no textbook can teach. The more you speak about your goals, the closer they become. Because every time you say, I want to, you're not just learning English, you're building the life you want, one word at a time. Chapter 7. Fun facts and unique details stand out when you speak. By now, you've shared your background, your personality, your dreams, but there's still one more way to make your English introduction truly memorable: fun facts and unique details. These are the little things about you that surprise people, make them smile, or help them remember you. They might seem small, but they're powerful because they make your story different from anyone else's. So what counts as a fun fact? A fun fact is something unexpected, interesting, or even strange in a good way. It might be a talent, a funny experience, a strange food you've tried, a hobby no one expects, or a place you've been that left a mark on you. It doesn't have to be exciting or impressive, just unique and real. Let's look at some examples of how to share them. People are usually surprised to learn that. People are usually surprised to learn that I can play the accordion. People are surprised to learn that I used to be afraid of public speaking, but now I love it. This phrase is great because it creates instant curiosity. It shows contrast, what people expect versus what's real. Another fun way to share something interesting is: a weird habit I have is. A weird habit I have is that I always eat dessert before dinner when I'm home alone. This kind of sentence adds humor and makes you relatable. Everyone has strange little habits, it's okay to show them. You can also use: one random fact about me is. Something I've always done differently is. Not many people know this, but these phrases create a personal moment. Here are some real examples. One random fact about me is that I collect postcards from every country I visit. Not many people know this, but I learned to ride a bike when I was 20. Something I've always done differently is organizing my bookshelf by color instead of author. These details aren't big or dramatic, but they're interesting. They show that you're not just practicing English. You're expressing you. Fun facts can also include stories. I once got stuck in an elevator for an hour with my dog. I met my best friend because we were both wearing the same Harry Potter t-shirt. I learned how to bake bread during quarantine, and now it's one of my favorite things to do. Short stories like this help people remember you, not just because of what you said, but how you made them feel. Another great category for fun facts: unusual skills. I can juggle 3 balls. I can recognize the sound of every coffee machine at my local cafe. I can whistle entire songs. I can make people laugh without saying a word. These aren't things you would normally say in a formal introduction, but that's exactly why they're special. They break the routine and invite curiosity. If you're not sure what fun facts you have, try asking yourself, what's something people always laugh at when I tell them? What do I love that most people don't know about? What's a small detail about me that makes me different? Have I ever done something unusual, even if it was by accident? Now let's put this into practice with a full example. People are usually surprised to learn that I speak 4 languages, but I get nervous when ordering food at restaurants. I also have a weird love for old maps. I collect them even if I don't know the places. And I can make really good animal sounds. It's strange, but it makes people laugh, and I enjoy it. Another one. Not many people know this, but I used to train as a dancer before switching to computer science. I still dance in my kitchen when no one's watching. One random fact about me, I've never had coffee. Not once. I just don't like the smell. But I love tea with milk, the old British way. Notice how both examples mix humor, surprise, and honesty. These are the kinds of moments that make people feel connected to you, even in a second language. So what's the lesson here? When you talk about yourself in English, don't be afraid to be weird, funny, or unexpected. That's what makes you real. That's what makes you stand out. It's not about being perfect, it's about being memorable. Take a few minutes today and write down 3 fun or unusual things about yourself. Practice saying them out loud. Maybe even record yourself. The more you play with these ideas, the more naturally they'll come when you're speaking in real life. Because at the end of the day, what people remember most isn't just your name, your job, or your hometown. They remember the little things that made them smile. Chapter 8: How to Practice Talking About Yourself. Final Tips for Real Fluency. You've learned how to introduce yourself clearly, share your story, talk about your hobbies, daily routine, personality, goals, and even fun facts. But the most important part of all this is practice. Without practice, words stay stuck in your head. With practice, your English grows from a set of rules into a living, breathing skill. So how do you practice talking about yourself effectively? Here are some powerful tips to help you turn knowledge into confidence. 1. Start small and simple. Don't try to say everything at once. Begin with 1 or 2 sentences. For example, Hi, I'm Anna. I'm from Ukraine, and I love reading books. I work as a teacher, and in my free time, I enjoy hiking. Master these short introductions first. They are your building blocks. 2. Use a mirror or record yourself. Practice speaking out loud in front of a mirror. This helps you see your facial expressions and build confidence. Record your voice too. Listening back allows you to catch pronunciation mistakes and notice where you can improve. Don't worry if you sound awkward at first, that's completely normal. The goal is progress, not perfection. 3. Practice with a friend or language partner. Find someone you trust to practice with. It could be a friend, family member, tutor, or language exchange partner. Speaking to a real person gives you instant feedback and makes practice more fun and interactive. Ask them to ask you questions like, Where are you from? What do you like to do? Tell me about your day. This way, you're practicing both answers and listening skills. 4. Use shadowing technique. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say immediately after, trying to match their rhythm, pronunciation, and tone. Find simple self-introduction videos, podcasts, or speeches, and shadow them daily. This trains your mouth and brain to produce natural English sounds and flow. 5. Expand your answers slowly. After you're comfortable with short answers, start adding more details bit by bit. For example, from I like reading to I like reading historical novels because they teach me about different cultures. This makes your English richer and more interesting. 6. Use new vocabulary and phrases regularly. Try to use the new words and expressions you learned from this video in your daily practice. Whether it's I consider myself creative, or one random fact about me is, using them repeatedly helps fix them in your memory. Make flashcards or notes with phrases you like and review them often. 7. Practice different contexts. Talk about yourself in various situations. Introducing yourself at a party. Writing a short biography for social media. Answering questions in an interview. Meeting new classmates or colleagues. This flexibility helps you adapt your language depending on the situation. 8. Be patient and positive. Learning to talk about yourself fluently takes time. Don't be discouraged by mistakes or if you forget words. Every time you try, you improve. Celebrate small wins, every new phrase you say, every time you speak without stopping, every smile from a listener. 9. Make it personal and real. The best English you speak is the English that reflects your real life, feelings, and personality. Don't just memorize, connect the words to your experience. If you love football, talk about football. If you're passionate about cooking, share your favorite recipe. Real stories make your English unique and memorable. 10. Set a routine. Try to practice talking about yourself every day, even if only for 5 minutes. Consistency beats intensity. A little practice every day builds habits and confidence faster than occasional long sessions. Final thought. Talking about yourself in English is more than just a language skill, it's a way to share who you are with the world. It's your story, your voice, and your connection to others. So start small, be brave, and keep practicing. The more you speak, the more your English will become natural and confident, because it's your story being told in your own words. Conclusion: practice, don't memorize, how to keep improving. Remember, the secret to speaking confidently about yourself in English isn't memorizing perfect sentences or trying to sound like a native speaker right away. It's about practicing regularly, making mistakes, and learning from them. Real fluency comes when you use English to express your true thoughts, feelings, and stories, not when you repeat phrases like a robot. Focus on communicating, not perfection. Speak slowly if you need to. Pause, think, and then continue. The more you practice talking about yourself, whether with a friend, in front of a mirror, or by recording your voice, the easier it will become. Be patient with yourself. Every small step, every word spoken, brings you closer to your goal. And every time you share your story, you build confidence and improve your English naturally. Call to action. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel for more practical English lessons just like this one. Comment below and tell me, what's one fun fact about you? I'd love to hear your stories and help you practice. Don't forget to share this video with your friends who want to improve their English too. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and I'll see you in the next video.